Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's video is going to be all the books I bought in the month of December. This is going to be a little bit of a bigger haul because I do have some books I was kindly gifted by my family for the holidays. And also, I really lucked out on thrifted books this month. I had a lot of good finds, half-price books. So I'm excited to talk to you about them and discuss why I picked things up and what I'm most excited for. So let's start with the only two I paid full price for. And the first one is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is a historical fantasy set in the Ming Dynasty, and we're following a girl who takes over her brother's name and becomes him after he has passed away. And we're following her as she's young, all the way up until she's in her 20s, and now she's in this war and we're watching her make a ton of decisions. And there's another character in here from the other side of the war that we're following. So this was a historical fantasy my husband found and thought I might really like, and so I picked it up with him when we were at Barnes & Noble. I've been in my historical fantasy mood for a while, so just always excited to add something to the TBR. Then we have The Changeling by Victor Laval. This is a horror that is by the same author who wrote Lone Women, and I really loved that when I read it. It was one of my honorary mentions of the year, and so I saw this and I just really wanted to pick it up, and I haven't been able to find it at half price or things like that, and so I decided just pick it up at Barnes & Noble. I am very excited to get to it because I'm just really looking forward to diving back into the worlds he builds because I really liked Lone Women and I've heard great things about this and his other works, so that's why I picked it up. Next, let's get into the books I was gifted by my family. So the first one is the fifth book in the Murderbot series. I have 1 through 4, and so this is the fifth one, Network of Fact. I'm very excited to have it. Well, first because this is the first full length in the Murderbot series, but also I am on the 4th book. I need to read it soon, so I was running out of Murderbot to be able to read, so I'm really happy I got this. And I like to read them physically because I just find that I get the information better, so I was really needing a physical copy right away. And yeah, I'm very excited to have this. I love the Murderbot series. It's one of also my honorable mentions of the year, so when I was gifted this by my sister-in-law, I was just super excited to get it. And so she also got me A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic by Jay Penner. This is someone that she sent me on Instagram before, and it's a cozy fantasy. It's a self-published book. So I believe this is supposed to be the Great British Bake Off meets cozy fantasy, and if that doesn't sound intriguing, I don't know what is. I love the Great British Bake Show. I just think the coziness of it and how really sweet and heartwarming the show is. So I'm really interested to see it in a cozy fantasy setting, and I feel like the way the author sells the book on their Instagram is just always really intrigued me whenever my sister-in-law sent me some. So I'm very excited to be having this one on my shelf and give it a go because I'm always looking for new because I'm always looking for new cozy fantasy. So that is A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic. And then my mother-in-law kindly gifted me Clockwork Boys by T. Kingfisher. The only T. Kingfisher I have on my shelf that I haven't read yet is Paladin's Grace. I haven't read that series and I want to start it. And then this is Clockwork Boys, which is also set in the same universe as that one, and Sword Heart. I've read Sword Heart, and this is the Clockwork Boys, which I think is only 2 books. And I think you're actually supposed to start with this one before Paladin's Grace. So I'm really excited that she got me this because, one, I love anything by T. Kingfisher, but also I've been wanting to jump into that series, but I didn't know exactly where I should be starting. So if I'm wrong and I should be starting with the other one, please let me know because I really want to read them in the best order. So this one I don't really know much about it. I think it's about a paladin and some other characters, and I think it's like a group of characters, versus Sword Heart was kind of focused on one couple and set in this world, but I think Paladin's Grace is following, I think, the paladin from that one. So I really don't know what to expect from this one, but I'm excited for it, and I just love anything T. Kingfisher, and I love specifically T. Kingfisher's fantasy settings, and so I think I'm really going to enjoy this one, and I can't wait to get to it. Now let's get on to my thrifted finds. So this is the only one I got off Pango Books. I had some credits left, and I finally ended up getting this one because I've been going back and forth. I had a little bit of credits left, and I didn't know what to use it on, and I finally decided to get this one because I have really liked this author's writing in the past, so I finally decided to get it, and that's All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. This is another of his thriller books that came out very recently. Again, I've read Razorblade Tears and really loved it, and I read Blacktop Wasteland, which you could see in my December wrap-up, which should come out before this one. I just really liked both of them. Razorblade Tears is my favorite, and Blacktop Wasteland was still good, though not my favorite, but I've heard just really good reviews on this one so far, so I wanted to pick it up. This is about a black sheriff and a serial killer in a small town and he's having to solve it. So this seems much more up my alley than Blacktop Wasteland did. So I'm really hopeful this can be as good as Razorblade Tears for me. And yeah, I'm just really excited to have this. I really like S.A. Cosby's thriller, it like suspense. It's very high action, and I found I really, really like that in it. So yeah, very excited to have this one, and glad I picked it up using my Pango credits. And so here are all the books I found at Half Price Books. I really looked out on finding books at Half Price this month, and yeah, it was just great. And they also were running a sale on one of the times I went, so it was just great. So sometimes you just really find gold at Half Price Books, so that's what happened to me, and I could not pass up the opportunity. So we'll just start with this little tiny one. It's An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helene Thurston. This is a translated book. I believe it's translated by Marlene Delargy, and it's translated from Swedish. And this is just a little series about this elderly lady who is like really curmudgeonly, and I think she just starts like killing people because they're pissing her off. And I've just heard really fun things about this, but I've never picked it up because of like the price for just this tiny of a book. And so when I saw it there, I just knew I had to get it. I couldn't leave it because it was like $4 for this, so I had to get it. And I'm very excited to read it. Then we have another Victor Laval, which is The Ballad of Black Tom. From my understanding, we're following a character from some Lovecraft story, and Lovecraft is really well known for his horror, but is also really known to have a lot of problematic elements within his texts, from homophobia to racism to a lot of things. And so this, I think, is reimagining a black character in a different light. Since I loved Lone Women, I just had to pick up this one when I saw it because I really like novellas, and sometimes the price point for them is really hard to justify. And so when I saw this there and I knew I like Victor Laval, I had to pick it up. So I'm very excited to get to this one very soon. This one's like high up on the priority list for me because I just think it's going to be one that I'm really going to like. And then I saw another novella there that I couldn't leave, and that's Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. This is a sci-fi series. I think there's 3 books out in the series. I don't know if there's supposed to be more. I don't know if it's a trilogy or what, but I've really heard good things about this series, and I found sci-fi novellas have been really working for me, so I wanted to give this a try because I still want to branch out in the sci-fi genre, and I've just heard like amazing reviews on Binti. I don't think I've really heard negative reviews ever of this series, and this author as well. I think they might have another series out, and so I saw this there and I just had to pick it up. I think all I know is that this character Binti is having to go to like a university of sorts in this galaxy, and I don't really truly know what's going to come, but every time I've heard someone talk about this, I've been wanting to give it a try. Like I said, I'm trying to expand my sci-fi reading, and so when I saw this there, I just had to get it, and I think it's one that I'm gonna like. Just sometimes I don't really know plot, but I hear people's reviews and the way they talk about books makes me realize that it's probably going to be for me. So that was this, and I had to get it. Then I have one that I've seen at Half Price a couple times, and I just always want to pick it up because I always think it's going to be for me, and then I leave it there, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to get it. So that's Sweet Black Waves by Christina Perez. This is a historical fantasy romance, and it's about a girl who I think her family has passed away, and there was a rival like people that I think invaded and killed her parents, and so now she's living with her family, who's the king and queen of this land, and she's older now, and I think she runs into a guy who is washed up on shore, and he's from like the people that killed her family, and so I think they're gonna have a romance, and I think it's gonna unpack a lot of things that happened to her parents and like what's going on in this world, and there's gonna be magic. That's all I really know, but I've been diving into the historical fantasy romance area, and I found I really like it. But I've dived into a lot of like fun historical fantasies, and I think this one's going to be a little more serious, so I really want to check it out and see how I feel about it, and if I can have historical fantasy romance as like a genre for me, or if it needs to be a specific kind. So I'm just trying to narrow down my taste on this, and this one's just been calling out to me every time I go to the bookstore, so I had to get it. Then we have one that's had really good reviews, and I've been just really intrigued by it ever since it's come out, but I never really picked it up because I wasn't really sure, and then I saw it at Half Price, and I was like, you know what, now's the time to try it, and that's The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. I think it's about this world where people can eat books, and they digest the stories of them, and that's kind of how like the magic system works, and that's how they like survive, and I think we're following a mother whose son actually eats the people and consumes their stories, and I really don't know what's going to go on from there. I think this is going to have some commentary about like family and mother and son dynamics and stuff. It just sounds really interesting because I think that she's going to have to choose maybe between her son and the rest of the world, because he obviously has like a darker form of this magic. And so yeah, I'm really intrigued. It's one blurb by V. Schwab, so I'm intrigued by that, and I've just heard really good things on it. So this is one that sounds like it could be for me. So then we have a book that I really think is gonna hit for me because I like slow paced historical fantasies and like character stories, and that seems like what this is gonna be, and that's The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. And I think this is just about a woman who is a vampire, and she can like, or immortal, but she can live forever. I think it's just following her life over centuries and just the like meaning of humanity and what it means to be immortal and things like that. And so I've seen good reviews again, and I think that this is going to be historical fantasy that I could really like because I like so many things that are character focused. This just jumps out at me as something that is going to be like that, and it's going to be a slow moving story where you really just get to know this character, and I think that I could really enjoy it. So yeah, so I'm happy I have it, and I will be hopefully getting to this soon. Then I have one that I recently read a novella of, and I liked the writing and stuff. I just want a little bit more. So that was Tread of Angels by Rebecca Roanhorse. So I saw Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse there, and I had finished that and immediately thought I would really love a full-length novel by her because of just the way she wrote and the way she like wrote characters. I really liked, but I just knew that I wanted more from it. And so I think with this I'm gonna get that because it's gonna be a lot more world building and character building. And I really just know that this is pre-Columbian inspired. When I read the back, I just knew this was sounding really good. It says, inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas, woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, forbidden magic, and crafted with unforgettable characters, Rebecca Roanhorse has created an epic fantasy adventure in the most original series debut of the decade. So I'm not always a huge fan of epic fantasies. I feel like this is got that historical fantasy elements to it that I'm really gonna like, because even though it's not exactly historical, it's pre-Columbian Americans. It's like inspired by that. So I think I'm going to really like it, and I just really liked Rebecca Roanhorse's writing and characters in Tread of Angels, so I think that I'm really gonna like this. And I know that the second one's out, and I think the third one's coming out this year, so if I like it, I could potentially finish the whole thing this year, which is really great. And it's blurbed by S.A. Chakraborty, which loved Adventures of Mina al-Sharafi, and I'm also currently reading City of Brass and really enjoying it. And R.F. Kuang has had such good reviews, though I haven't tried hers before, and Stephen Graham Jones, which I like Stephen Graham Jones. So I just feel like this is going to be a win for me, and I just can't wait to get to it. I think this one out of the whole stack is probably top of my list to get to. And finally, we have one that I had no clue about, but I just saw it on the shelf and I thought this sounds like it's going to be my thing. So that is The Daughters of Zidhar by Hedir Alspy. And this is a historical fantasy again, so that's one of the reasons. And I think it's Egyptian inspired, if I remember correctly. It's inspired by modern Egyptian history. And I think it's one sapphic romance, and it's also about a bookshop worker and a spoiled aristocrat. It sounds like they're gonna have to deal with women's rights and forbidden magic, and then also I believe it's going to be a romance between them. So I'm really excited for this. It's a debut author, but it's blurbed by people I really like. So it's blurbed by Shannon Chakraborty, P. Jelly Clark, and Ava Reid, which Ava Reid I recently read, and while I didn't love her newest release, The Study in Drowning, I did really like the atmosphere and stuff. And then P. Jelly Clark and Shannon Chakraborty, I really love their stuff, and they both blurbed it. So I'm hoping that this one's going to be a great one, and it's a debut author, so I'm excited to try it. I think this came out in 2022, if I remember. No, this came out in 2023, so this was a 2023 release, so that's great. I didn't realize that, and I haven't heard like anyone talk about this, so I'm very intrigued to see how I think about it. So there you go. There's all the books I bought. I should see that coming every time, and I don't. So those are all the books I bought in the month of December. And yeah, I had a little bit of a crazy December month, but you know, I just found some really good books at half price that I couldn't pass up. So here we are. So if you've read any of the books that I hauled, I would love to know your opinions on them and which ones you think I should get to first, because I really like all the ones I hauled and I'm very excited for them, but I need to know which ones should I prioritize over the others. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.